Hey guys, this is Candy. Welcome back to the channel, and I have a confession to make. I have an apology video to make, an announcement, and that is that I'm a normal player. I guess, like, in the spirit of trying to improve and elevate my gameplay, I think we're due for another coaching video. We haven't done one of these coaching videos in quite some time. The last one, I want to say, was like at least a year ago, right? So this time I have commissioned the help of Coach Nihil, and for those who don't know who he is a well-renowned coach in the Apex community. I want to say the video he was most known for, at least how I found him initially, was when he reviewed Roz's gameplay, an aggressive Wraith player who got, I guess, 28 kills and almost 6,000 damage in one game about a year ago. And of course, Coach Nihil has since coached many other players to help review their gameplay and help to see where they can improve and things like that. I'll go ahead and link his YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, if you guys are interested in checking this out. But anyways, I figured, I'm actually in the process of editing the footage here. I'm almost done. This footage is really from, I want to say like about like a month ago. So this isn't like really super new footage, but I do think it is a honest look at my own gameplay and seeing like the holes and where I can improve. And I think honestly, a lot of it is some pretty mind-blowing stuff. It may sound simple on the surface, but if you see it in action, it's pretty helpful, at least to me. And I think maybe it could definitely help some of you guys out, if you can apply some of the situations that you see in this video and just relate it to how you can improve individually. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a great video, guys. Hope you all enjoy it. And yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments.
But what I really want to figure out as I work with people is my goal is I want to figure out, like, why are you getting better at these things? Why are you not getting better at some other things? And what's basically the most efficient way for me to get you to look at the game differently, that you don't have to put like tons of hours into practice, but just by approaching the game differently, you're going to naturally get better. That's basically the goal.
I don't know. You mentioned that, like, I spent a lot of time playing this game and like I did get better, but I think I guess like the converse is also true. Like a lot of bad habits also kind of got cemented, right? Because I'm playing against pubs mostly. It's mostly, me having a good time with my friends. A lot of it isn't like the most competitive gameplay ever. And there's definitely some things that I know that I do that would cost me the game if I was playing against better players.
Is there anything you think that you should really improve where you are right now? Yes. What would that be? Well,
I think I definitely because I'm mostly a pub player, right? Like I definitely get like greedy, aggressive. So like I often put myself in like terrible positions because usually, like, let's say 70% of the time I can like 1v1 someone just from just pure aim. I kind of enjoy doing that. Like, it's fun, but I think on the converse, it makes me like ignore cover, positioning, and oftentimes if I'm playing against a decent coordinated team, it leads to them just double or triple teaming me.
What I noticed is that, like, with mechanics and with a lot of the like macro level decision making, not being caught out alone, pushing with your friends, knowing when to heal, knowing when to maybe run away, especially in ranked, you seem to be very mindful of things like not fighting from in between two teams and stuff like that. Being mindful of not getting stuck for the next zone and having maybe a good position that you can play from. These are things that you've picked up very, very well, right? And then if I look at your gameplay, there's a lot of things that you've mentioned when it comes to like positioning and cover usage, like the actual execution of a fight, where you really seem to be lacking, even though your mechanics have improved a ton. But I definitely see kind of this odd thing where some of your skills have improved way further than others. And I think your assessment is quite right that it often comes down to like positioning and cover usage, but I think it really comes down to just like the way you approach the game. And I'm going to give you basically an approach to the game that is really founded on some simple logic.
Sure.
Some simple logical rules that I'm sure that if I say them, it's stuff that you've already learned. So here's a couple base rules that we want to adhere to in order to ensure that you never duel more than one enemy. We basically want to make sure that every team of 3 you split up into 3 distinct duels.
Okay.
And there's a simple way we're going to do that. The first step is I want you to draw an imaginary outline around the enemy team. You can only position yourself and move around on the outside of that outline. So that's the very first thing. If you ever watch back your fights and you notice that at any moment you unnecessarily cross that boundary, you're setting yourself up for death.
All right.
Right, that's a fight coming up that you're just not going to win. That's not a 1v1 duel. So that's the first thing, is you want to make sure you stay on the outside of the enemy team so that you can fight one at a time.
Okay.
The next thing is you can absolutely flank. You can absolutely isolate depending on the terrain. There's a lot of things that you can do on the outside, but you do have to understand that if you go all the way past halfway point to their back, you're very isolated from your team. So just like you want to create 1v1 duels or 2v1 or 3v1 duels, this is a 3v1 for them if they turn around.
Okay.
Right, so that's an important thing to remember. So you want to stay on the outside of the fight, and you don't necessarily want to get behind them. Okay, then moving on from that, creating 1v1s. So if you have an enemy team here, this is really cool. We have a box, you can get behind that, so now it's not a 3v1, right? Problem solved. Now, depending on where you move from behind this box, as long as you keep any piece of cover between you and all of the enemies, since you're staying on the outside of this line, right? You can choose which enemy you fight by choosing which angle on them you take. Right? So if you choose to peek on the left side, you want to fight the leftmost enemy, and you want to block out all the enemies on the right. Because as you've already mentioned, and I agree with you on this, you can win 70% of your 1v1s based off of aim. I would say it's more than 70%. I would say if you actually approached the fights correctly, you should win pretty much all of your 1v1s because your aim is actually really good. Right? Like you have a ton of experience, and I think you really underestimate how good your aim is and how disadvantageous some of the fights are you're taking. You're actually making the game quite hard on yourself, have the mechanics of a master's level player, and then you're like, look at me, I'm the relatable content creator that's still in plat. Because I run in and take really difficult fights. Hope that doesn't sound judgmental.
No. I think like one thing I do notice against good players, just over the course of an engagement, right? Like if I somehow end up fighting more than one person, so say two or three, there's like this, like, I guess, fatigue, right? If I 1v1 one person, even if I'm able to isolate them, I'm still taking damage. So say if I do 200 damage to one person, they exchange for 100. I'm already at half health. How do I deal with like just getting destroyed by the other two at that point, right?
Okay, good.
Because I guess cover can only do so much in terms of like isolating, but I'm still over time like accruing damage and just having like, I guess, just damage or just HP fatigue, right?
No,
like,
really good question. That's awesome. Part of the goal of what I'm going to teach you is that sure, you're going to get into 1v1 duels and beat people, but there's more kind of rules coming that focus on maintaining your health, specifically your armor, avoiding taking unnecessary damage, basically getting the most value out of every peak, which mitigates how many resources you're losing, as well as healing as early as possible at the right time so that you can actually capitalize on advantages that you're creating or stabilize. So that's kind of part of the answer. The other thing is that the first rule, the way that I want you to navigate fights, what we're going to see later on in the session when we look at your gameplay, is we'll notice that because of the way you navigate the fights, the next duel starts disadvantageous. And that's the problem. Right? And then sure, there's things that you can do that I'm going to teach you with cover usage where you can mitigate some health loss better, but really the issue is that you're approaching the fight in such a way that you're not really in control of how the next duel is going to work out. And that makes it fatiguing because it essentially means that you have a health pool that's going to last you as long as you out-aim them. You want to create these 1v1 duels where hopefully you can kill people without losing health. You can lose armor, you can heal that quickly, and then you can set yourself up for the next duel. We want you to heal your armor as early as possible.
Okay. This is from Platts. Okay.
Yes. I mean, we're going to look at most of the fights, and we're going to look at your application of all of this and just show you how to improve it. So we had some early looting here, which wasn't too interesting. Okay. And what I'm essentially looking for is at what moment do you become aware of the enemies, and then do you take a position where you're going to be able to abuse speaker's advantage. So can you force an angle on one person and do that well, right? So there's enemies in front. I really like that you're going to the roof here. So with what we've talked about is that you want all of the enemies, or at least where you know that the enemies are, in one direction. You want cover between you and that direction so that you can peek one enemy at a time. And then you want to have an imaginary outline around everybody that you've seen. So right now it's only vaguely this building, you don't know exactly where they are, but as people show up, so like as an enemy's here, that outline changes and that shows you what the playable area is, because you know you can play anywhere on the outside, as long as you keep cover between you and that direction.
Okay.
Right, and so this positioning is really good because you have early vision on where the enemies are going to be coming from, and then you can force an angle on one at a time. You can head glitch because this is a vertical. It's vertical? Horizontal piece of cover, sorry.
Yes.
This is horizontal cover usage, so you can glitch, right? Just like with a ramp. And otherwise, you would be peeking from the left side, meaning you peek the leftmost enemy. And if there's another enemy here, you're not going to fight that person from the left, because then you're going to be shot by 2 people. See that? Spoiler alert. We give up this position, and then how we end up taking the fight. So this, you guys are swapping for a while. They're scanning you. So the enemies have now become aware of your position, right? They have moved around and taken the space and surrounded you, which is not what you've done. And now who's going to have the peeker's advantage? Who's in control of?
They are.
They're determining who they peek and when, right? And so now you're on the back foot. Also, while reloading, use cover. So you could have stepped more to the right, reloaded and not taken this damage. You're going to be low. It's not a favorable fight because it didn't start advantageously, but already could have lived longer and then shot back, right? So 2 things that we already see there. And the way you're taking the fight, it's not set up to be easy duels 1 by 1, because you didn't see where they were and didn't basically choose an angle that was going to determine all of them coming in one at a time. So you gave them the advantage, both positionally and with the actual aggression on the fight. And then you also didn't basically get the most value out of your health.
So what could I have done differently? So when I was on the roof, should I have stayed there, or what would you
absolutely think that would have been a great start. I think there's a lot of things you could do. And I think basically the goal is to just ask yourself, could you have played anywhere here in such a way that you can keep them on one side and peek one at a time? And I think you're quite right, the roof would have been really good. So even if you're right here, so let's say one of them deals a bunch of damage to you, you're forced to back up, get back to your teammates. Even from here, if you peek from the right door and look at where they are, draw an imaginary outline on the enemies, and then fight the rightmost enemy and use the door for cover, or you use this door, peek one enemy at a time, or you go to the back door and take the height. From all of those positions, you get the vision early on them, you have to cover between you and them, and then you can control which angle you fight them from.
So I basically shouldn't have given up that rooftop position.
Yep, or take the doors, right? Because it achieves the same thing. Okay. So, like from these doors, right, if you're fighting someone from inside here, and a second person shows up, like let's say on the roof, or here, you can just close the door, use the cover, and fix that, right? And so this is how our position is dynamic, is as we get awareness, we constantly try to keep all of the enemies on one side, and if we can't fight one at a time, we just use the cover, block the sideline, and then are like, okay, they're over there, how am I going to play this position so that I can peek one at a time? Right? And if you continue to do that here, you continue to be in charge of the peaks here, in charge of the fight, meaning if you deal damage and your team is essentially able to push up on an advantage, you can actually do that. Or if they want to push you and they have to cross, you're very hard to hit because you can peek one at a time and use cover, and they have to go out in the open and you punish them for that.
So yeah, I see. So I think, the conclusion I'm kind of drawing from here is that, like, maybe because I kind of retreated inwards, let them surround. Like I probably shouldn't have given them that area and that ground to take. I got it.
Yep.
Because I basically allowed them to push up for free.
Exactly. Yeah. So you did not control the angle of how this fight started. You did not control who you fought. You deal damage here, so you have 42 now. Before they unpeak, you're going to deal like 20 to 40 more because you're beaming them. They should go back behind cover. They end up not doing that, but they should.
Okay.
Right? Then you're still fairly healthy, but for you to capitalize on that, you're going to potentially be shot from a whole bunch of different angles on the outside.
Right.
Because you don't know where all the enemies are.
Right.
And this is why you're not in a position, this is the downside of kind of giving them the early vision and letting them surround you, it just becomes hard to capitalize on anything. And so you're just trying to stabilize.
Right.
Whereas if you were on the roof, or if you were holding the door and proactively getting angles on them, where you controlled who you looked at because you knew approximately where they were, and you know that you're peeking one at a time, like if you know you're fighting the leftmost enemy, then you know that if you deal damage, you can just move up from the left and keep cover vaguely on your right. And if you get shot back, like it's fine.
So a lot of the battle was kind of already lost because I gave up that position. So
it was certainly a very it was certainly a lot harder than it had to be.
Right. Okay.
Right.
I see. Yeah, because you're right. Even if I downed that guy, even if I cracked him down, got him down to 10 health, I wouldn't have been able to push up.
Yeah. And so your aim has developed tremendously. But I think that there's a lot of stuff you can do to just make these fights easier. So I have a node. I know which fight we want to look at. I just don't understand what my node means, but we're just going to look at it and we'll see what it is. Oh, okay. No, never mind. I know what it says.
Oh, God, this part.
Yeah, there are other things before that we'll look at in a bit as well, but the end of this game was particularly useful to kind of look at everything we've talked about in sequence.
Okay.
But let's quickly use the rat as an example.
This is definitely the game I want you to look at. Because
Perfect. Yeah. We're going to absolutely look at this one, and then there's a later one that I think is very valuable to look at too. Okay. So as this person jumps down, they break line of sight. You
Okay.
have high ground, and so we're talking about a horizontal peak again.
Okay.
Right? And essentially, you're going to have, from this position, a value against this enemy until they are able to break line of sight from you.
Okay.
Right? So either they get under this building, in this building, behind these boxes, or behind this rock. And until then, from this position, you can take an angle against him. And if he turns around and shoots you, or his teammates, if he had any, end up shooting you from anywhere, you can still just block that line of sight and fight one at a time. See that?
Yeah.
So the value in this position doesn't disappear as long as you cannot force until you cannot force an angle anymore.
Okay.
Right? And here, end up chasing. Okay.
Yep. Over aggressive.
Sort of unfortunate, but and then here, as soon as you get shot by somebody else, so this is what we really want to avoid. If this happens, right, you don't have any cover, so now your only potential survival technique is movement.
Right.
Right? So now you need to strafe very quickly and then get out of line of sight. Probably still gonna die here, but just to point out, if you do die at any point or get knocked, then ask yourself, what did that look like from the enemy's point of view? And you'll notice something that, like, okay, sure, you're probably already dead at that point, but when you're out in the open, don't go in straight lines. Right? Because if you think back on how that looked, you were not that hard to hit.
I guess, I wasn't expecting, I mean, it's definitely my fault. I wasn't expecting a team to be in there. But I should have been expecting a team to be there because there's like 8 other squads left.
I don't think you need to be expecting a team to be in there. I think this can happen. I think you could have maybe survived. It would have been quite close because they hit you on the way down in the beam. I definitely think most players would have dropped a lot later because there was no need to drop.
Right. Yeah. Definitely got overzealous.
But I do think it's a good exercise to see both how to get value out of a position. How does this work with the angles and with blocking angles?
Okay.
Right. So that's the first one. It's just a simple example of that because it's a long stretch where you can't get to cover. So you can see it's valuable to be there. And the other thing is that it's a good one to think about how did I look from the enemy team? Because, like, sure, you didn't expect them, but if you respond well, if you make it a habit that if you're caught out in the open that you strafe first and then see if you can break line of sight, you would have survived for a little bit. Hopefully that buys your team enough time to drop you a dome, to shoot back, to do something. In this case, probably not, but that's definitely a habit you want to build.
Okay.
Okay. So first thing, this is kind of fine if you're gathering information, but I think we can already very quickly see from this kind of position that you can very easily be peeked by multiple enemies.
Okay.
Right? So if we're talking about how good of an angle is this, it's kind of fine, but
Just zero cover.
yeah, so you definitely don't want to be like playing this throughout the fight. It's just something to be mindful of, that this is a bad angle, and you'll quickly see how much it matters. The other thing to also be mindful of, and this becomes very important, especially in close range combat, but also when it comes to cover usage, is that some guns, like the R99 or shotguns, allow you to move a lot, and some don't, right? And when you're in a fight with someone in close range, you'll probably notice you oftentimes want to hip fire those guns, because otherwise you can get beamed if someone's shooting you. Right? The same actually goes on most peaks. You want to be mindful if you're using anything from an assault rifle or up, where it has this slow strafe speed.
Okay.
You want to be very mindful of not taking these duels where you're barely moving and then taking a lot of damage. Because you're just really, really, really easy to shoot.
So you're saying for, like, AR, snipers, DMR, yeah.
Yep.
So just use cover even more, like be even more conscientious of utilizing cover.
Yeah, so the thing you need to know, like, it's not that you can never not use cover. Absolutely not. It's just that if you shoot at an enemy, generally they're going to shoot back at you. So preferably you shoot them first, which gives you a little bit of extra damage. Then the moment they shoot back at you, which hopefully isn't from the start or earlier than you, in which case you probably shouldn't challenge that at all, because you're going to lose the damage exchange. But the moment they shoot back at you, if you have one of those guns, you're just going to take about 3 times the damage that you would with an SMG. That's just the way it is. And that's why you are going to either need to avoid that by, like, after a first shot, like dipping behind cover or un-ADSing and strafing, so you're difficult to hit the moment that they start shooting you, or you want to be on a head glitch so that you're just hard to hit. Then your strafes are also hard to see, so they can't see you going left and right, and you can just dip. Okay, so there we take a bit of unnecessary damage. So notice how you're not the one shooting first and getting the angle first. So you're out in the open the entire time, and they have the peekers in. So you take this damage first. You still win these damage exchanges because, like, you have 10k hours in FPS games. But a lot of unnecessary damage throughout these fights that we're going to see as a result of either taking bad angles or then just not using the cover effectively.
I got beamed by the second guy.
Yeah, so you're fighting 2 people, first of all, right? Which, as soon as you see 2 people, you go behind cover, you're like, okay, that's where they are. How can I get an angle here? That's 1 person at a time. You're in a slow strafe speed weapon where you're taking damage first and you continue to challenge them, so you're very, very easy to hit. And then even though you're like losing the damage exchange, you still continue to peak. Right? Which is, as soon as your armor is broken, this needs to become a habit. You should heal as early as possible, because any damage that you do, you can't even follow up on anyway if your armor is broken.
Okay, fair point. Yeah,
Right?
there's no point in trying to just...
There's no value in it.
Yeah,
This is so it's really important if you take as little damage as possible, or at least heal as early as possible before you deal damage, then you can capitalize on it. And since we're going to be, and this is the next step, approaching from the outside of the fight and taking other angles than our teammates. This is one that I didn't have in my notes, but we're noticing here. Is also going to be very important. Combining those two things, you should also actually just be able to move up on it and like get value, right? Both of which are kind of not true and tough here. Okay, so you get knocked there. So one important thing is, I don't think you should have ever been chunked into your health during a poking phase here. So that's the first thing. If you didn't get chunked into your health, they would have also never jumped out on this, because that's only because you got knocked, right? Like if you can just upkeep your armor and heal in between, it doesn't really matter if they're like poking the hell out of you. They're not going to be able to push on that. So that's like the first thing. And then once you get rest here, since you got knocked, I'd be a little worried about getting pushed. There's a gold bag, so cells would be nice. But what's really important is what's the direction of the enemies. It's over here, right? So you need to keep vision mostly to that side, and your cover needs to be on this side, right?
Yeah.
So your team is coming from that side. Cover always needs to be on this side. You're only peeking when you have a reason to deal damage.
Okay.
Right? So now you're about to peek, you're leaving your cover without looking at them, without going to deal damage. Right? So either you should be looking to break line of sight again, to just be a bit farther, essentially kiting because you want to heal and be extra safe. Completely fine. But then, like, why are you running into their angles?
I should have run directly back. Like, I see. Yeah.
So the very most important thing, whether it's how you approach a fight or how you use cover in the fight, is like, you want to have this constant idea of this outline around them, this glow. Like imagine all three enemies as a very bright light, right? And you're not the hero of the story, you're the villain. So if we have the Lion King moment of everything in the shadows, like you live in the shadow whenever you're not trying to deal damage.
Okay.
Right? So don't look at it like if I'm reloading or if I'm healing or whatever, I shouldn't be in the open. Look at it more like there's no need to look at an enemy if you're not planning to shoot them.
Yeah, because I'm definitely out in the open here. Jeez.
Yeah, challenging. So look at the damage you take before you shoot, right? That's where your resources go. It's not actually in you losing your duels. It's in not setting up your duels. Like you don't see him coming. You're not in control of a piece of cover to stop any of this. And you didn't like reset your health early or preserve it enough.
Got it.
Combination does. Okay, so your teammates still own him, fortunately.
Thank God.
And then, so there's an enemy. So we want to have this like imaginary outline around where we had, basically all the enemies concentrated. So in this case, there was a lot of enemy pressure from this building.
Right.
That you guys are contesting. And now there's also a wraith over here that we're going to see in a second. So basically this is the enemy pressure, right? These are the sources of a very bright light that are going to hit all of these pieces of cover. And then we're going to have these beams of shadow on the map. All of those beams of shadow are the places where you're going to be when you're not shooting someone. Right? So you can move to any of those places, completely fine. To take an angle, you can peek from any of those places, that's completely fine. And when you can't shoot people, you want to be in the shadow and you want to be safe. Same with your approach. So if you want to fight her, she's the rightmost enemy. You want to maintain the right side of the battlefield, keep all of the enemy attention focused on one side, and then you want to have the cover against all the other people that you like block out, so that you fight her one-on-one, or in this case 2v1 or 3v1. But you never want to be on the losing end of the one, right?
Yeah, because I'm already getting lit up because I stood there too long.
Yeah, there's no value in that, right? When you could have moved up, here, see if it's safe. You can easily move up here like your teammates are, force angles on the right. You can continue, like you can move out, you can move around the entirety of the outside of the battlefield, as long as you don't stop to fight people, essentially until you're behind one of these pieces of cover. And then you basically use them whenever you have to heal or reload. And you peek one at a time. And then you shouldn't be losing all of this health. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's more health loss.
I should have healed immediately.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because my two teammates already got that wraith. So like they don't need my help.
So now we've got the important enemies over here. So they're all in one direction, which is great.
Right.
And you have a piece of cover between you and their direction that you can play behind. right? And you can peek this piece of cover on the left, on the right, or on the top. So this is awesome. Depending on where they look, doesn't really matter. If they go to this door, if they go to the far door, if they go to the roof, you can decide to duel one person at a time and not take very unnecessary damage.
Yeah, so, get destroyed.
So first of all, standing in the top where you're exposed from every angle, right? And then indeed getting shot by two people. In this case, they're peeking the same angle, but essentially with this positioning, it doesn't really matter. So if you want to fight someone on the left, like just peek from the left, have the cover here. And then if a second person shows up, like you don't have to fight that. You can just break it. You can step behind the box and then you're like, all right, there's two over there. Guess I'm gonna go see if the third is gonna peek alone from over here. Like, and I'll just peek on the right. Yeah. I don't want to deal with two people. Like, why do you need to take this much damage here?
Holy
and then you get knocked again because it's a slow strafe speed weapon again in the open, right?
Right. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Did I get shot from both doors? I think I did. Like by all three people.
That's quite possible. And if so, then that, would have been the right thing for them to do because you gave them that chance. Getting an angle on the left. So this is fine as long as you're just fighting the guy on the roof to peek on the right because it's one person. Okay, fighting the person on the left. So that's what we're looking for, right? Fighting one person at a time. That's really good. And
he's pissed out of me. Yeah.
Yep, that is unfortunate. We will soon see, luckily, the flip side of this also paying off. So now we've looked at all the times you're not doing it, but let's look at it paying off as well, because sometimes you do. Okay, so we need to heal, because your armor is cracked. We do that, which is good. Get a quick heal and be ready to give some value. So now there's a Bloodhound far right, so it'd be good to peek him on the right side if you want to fight him, or to peek the leftmost person on the left side. Also be good, which would be that person. So this is awesome, because you're not taking any unnecessary damage, both when you're not able to shoot, because you're reloaded and healing cover, and you're peeking on the left side, where you can very, very quickly respond if some shenanigans go down, like a second person shooting you, and most people just can't see you at all, which is really good, right? And then hopefully, if we have an imaginary outline around the approximate location of the enemies, we also see that if you deal a ton of damage to this caustic, if you move up on the left, the only people that can do anything are the people that can basically peek this angle, right? You're free to move up as soon as he unpeaks, until someone takes over for him. Okay, so here, this is great. You have all of them. We have an imaginary outline. You're moving from the outside of that outline. You're going to get an angle as soon as you uncover this piece of cover, which is the one between you and them. Meaning you're going to peek on the left and uncover them on the left.
Right.
In this case, they're closer to it, so you're really playing the angle, not the cover, which is completely fine. It doesn't matter, the same logic applies. When you peek here, you want to stop as soon as one becomes visible, rather than swing where you're going to be shot by multiple people.
Really? Okay.
Yep. So here...
Yeah, I swung wide.
This is really good, because this person you could shoot, you're a little exposed to this person, but fortunately they're not shooting you, which is really good. So you can shoot one at a time. Let me remove this really quickly. And what's really important is that then when you need to reload, it's just one step to the right, and you cannot take any unnecessary damage while you're reloading, right? And if they want to look at you while you do that, they have to go all the way out here, in which case they get destroyed by your teammates, right? Or you just continue to move to the right, which continues, blocking the line.
Right.
So you being in control of that's really, really good.
Look, yeah,
can't take any damage, right? Really good. And now you can re-peek again and you shoot the first person again, right? And you continue doing this. And you will kill them because you're going to win your damage exchanges because you're candy.
Right.
And that's exactly what we see happen. So this is really good. And there you go. Awesome. Here we're going to see how a fight devolves based on whether or not you're following basically the rules or the commandments I've taught you today. So, This is where you spot the enemy team. You have them all in one direction of you, which is good. That's the right thing to do. Next step, you see them first, completely fine to deal damage. That's that, you want to use that advantage. But as soon as you're taking any damage back, or preferably as early as possible, you want to continuously position yourself with cover in your direction, this like in front of you, right? Between you and them. Right? Draw an imaginary outline around the fight, and it just becomes way larger, and you still operate on the outside of the fight, and understand that if you pass the halfway point, you're disconnected from your team, and that's more than just a flank. That's a solo mission, which is sometimes completely fine, but be aware of what your positioning is. We see that someone is moving to the left, and so just like before, the outline is now moving very quickly, right? Teammates are fighting from this side, so you want to have cover in this direction. So you can fight this person, which is a duel, which is fine. And now we want to ensure that everybody stays on one side, because otherwise you're going to be drawing attention from multiple directions, which would really suck. So you can easily move up from the left side of the fight and reconnect to your teammates, or you can move all the way around the left and just challenge the guy. You can take height. You can even block out this entire side, everything on the right, and then fight him until nobody else crosses this line. Like, that's fine, right? Because they're still completely isolated.
Right.
All those are fine. But you cross into the middle. And so now this is about the stacking duels, right? This is why these rules are so important. Because is your next duel going to be easy now? No. Right? The advantage is going to be in this enemy. Of course, you still like do way more damage than everybody else. Because your aim is way better than like Plats and Diamond players. I know, so there's a couple things happening here, right? I wonder if I should let this play out. So it's fixed there for a second, but okay. So we have all of the enemy attention coming from this direction. That's what you need to block out. We have new duels will be coming from this direction, so that's what you need to be prepared for. But then, like, because you're fighting someone out here, like your teammates are already fighting people inside, right? So now you're getting everybody from your right side, potentially taking a bunch of unnecessary damage. So there's your attrition of resources that you cannot reset because you don't have cover on the right side. Your teammates are fighting inside, right? So your next duel is now in your ass, while the other ones are coming from the front.
Right.
How are you going to effectively use cover and manage to heal in between these duels? There's no way.
So in this case, you would say to just jump to the front door. If I'm already there, just go inside at that point.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have challenged the lifeline?
I definitely wouldn't have even gone here because you're just crossing into the middle of the battle and just completely opening yourself up to all of the potential enemies for no reason, which you fixed here, right? So now all of the enemy attention is on one side, and if you get a safe spot, you can heal, or you can at the very least fight one at a time, which is really good. So fixed, but you just crossed like throughout the, basically, if you think of the battle like people getting angles on each other and then shooting each other, you're crossing through all the angles and then also not aware of where your duel is about to break out.
Okay.
So just really the issue is that you're just not keeping the layer of cover on the right side and not moving from the outside of the fight. So if you like just go and reconnect to your teammates, you're golden here. Because all the enemies are coming from one direction and you fight one at a time.
Got it.
Okay, cool. So now we have a stairs where we're gonna hopefully peek one at a time from. You do that, right? Tell me my skill assessment was wrong. What is that? That's not plat level, eh? Like, your mechanics have come a long way. Okay, and then here what we quickly see, so first of all, as soon as you uncover an angle on the enemies, you want to be the one peeking and picking the right enemy, and you absolutely want to prioritize the people that are the biggest threat, rather than the people that are like sometimes the easiest target, but generally the biggest threat, right? So you don't want to be fully exposing to shoot a low health target if it means you're going to be shot by 3 people at the same time.
Got it.
Similarly here, you're focusing on a downed person when you know you're about to peek into potentially someone that's still up.
Okay.
Right? So right here, this is awesome. There's one person still up. She's down there. You have cover, and you're going to be able to get an angle on her right here. And you need to be sure that you aim at her and shoot her first so that you win your duel. Right? Or go back behind cover and you. Either one's fine.
Yeah, I choose to go for the down person because I didn't want to revive, but that doesn't make sense.
You need to just shoot this person.
Yeah. Did I make it out of this alive? I think I did.
Yes.
Somehow.
Yes. So good nade here. If you just waited a second there, so during the reload, you started taking damage, which almost screws you here. Like, look at your health.
Yeah.
Fortunately, because your aim is godlike and you're underestimating yourself, you somehow make it out of this shit, Candy. What is this?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. But like, of
but
course you don't have the health
me.
to win the next duel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Which is like, if you're not shooting that down person, you actually still have 75 armor left. Right? And then if you're not taking damage during the reload, you should have like a good health pool here, and I bet you kill the Octane, because what we can very clearly identify from all of these fights is that you do not struggle to outdamage enemies, you struggle to keep your health up.
Right.
And you struggle to keep it predictable where your next fight is going to break out.
Got it.
Right? So those two things are really roughing you up here.
Yeah. I can just see it. Like, I'm not really like thinking about like where the enemies are per se.
Yeah, so awesome that you're saying that, because all the way at the start of the session I said, I hope that I can show you a way that now whether you win or lose the fight, you see how you could play it cleaner so that the next one's going to be easier and you have more health left for every duel. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I had one more note over this really quickly just to continue the train of thought of what we were on. So here in between these duels, you want to get your armor up and maintain as much armor as early as possible by not taking unnecessary damage. And then
Do you think I should have health healed or just not bothered?
I mean, at this range, you probably can't if you run away.
Okay.
Like, it just takes too long. Which is why you really want to preserve your health, right? Because you don't have to full heal, reset if you can't kill people before you have to heal it. But the thing I wanted to quickly point out is like definitely want to preserve your health on all of these duels. And if so, what becomes really important is that like as soon as you get this knock as well, two things that you want to achieve, like as soon as you kill these people, is you know that all of the enemies are coming from this direction, meaning you as quickly as possible need cover in that direction. And then from that cover, you want to heal as early as possible, plus you want to have the early vision. So if they're coming from the door, you want to be up here, right? If you need, like, if you can see them coming from the window and respond while you're healing, even better, right? Because you get the earlier awareness, which means you can play this position better. If you can see them coming and you know you don't have time to heal, like that's going to allow you to back up so you can Phoenix or take the roof or something. And then I think you have a small chance here. It's a difficult fight, but I absolutely actually think you could have won this if you came from one direction and preserved your health, because you managed to beam everybody really well. It was really awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. Like in it, like you talking about me beating people, like during the moment, I didn't think I was.
It doesn't feel like it, right?
Yeah, because I wasn't like killing them, you know. But you're right. Like exchanging, I did 100 damage to someone. I only took one bullet. Like that's a great trade. I mean, but I was already so low.
Yeah, so since you're pretty introspective and like, it sounds like you're a very genuine guy, like you don't mind if I point out things that I think you can do better. So that's awesome. Let's call it for what it is. In two of these games that we've seen, like the damage you take that the enemy plays off of, that you guys lose like exchanges off of, is like not when you're actually shooting. It's just randomly throughout the game for no reason. Right? Like, and in between, you sometimes beam people so hard that you just completely make up for it. But then you take all of this random damage when I'm like, so, you know, what I had in the back of my mind is a potential direction based on what you would say for this session to go is like, I was wondering if I should really go down the road of asking you, like, if your mechanics have gone so much better, why haven't you become more confident? Right? Because that's what it really looks like with a lot of the stuff we're talking about is like, you're not taking control of making these fights easy to win. Like, it looks like you're always like, I beam them or I lose. Like you're playing on the back foot from the start while you're way better than the enemies. Right? So that's a very blunt way of putting it, but that's kind of one of the potential directions that I sometimes take the early session of really looking at this and being like, do you notice how, you know, you're actually making it hard for yourself yet succeeding, which says a lot about what you've learned to do well. And yet I think both the good and bad experience, whether you're stomping pobs or running into prets, doesn't really matter. I think you can learn from it with these steps.
I see.
So let's look at this one, because this was another game that you win, and I wanted to look at it because I really, really want to reiterate what I want this game to be an example of. Is sure, I'm going to point out all of the stuff we've already been talking about, but I want this to really solidify my theory to you that I would like you to test.
Okay.
Which is that this is a positive outcome of a fight. It is still a valuable learning experience. So don't look at whether you died or didn't die. Look at how you played it.
Okay.
Right? And that's what I want this to showcase, because you play this absolutely amazingly, and there's a lot of stuff you could learn. And that's kind of the takeaway I want you to have from today. So this is
Is this the one where they're on the roof the next? Yeah.
So this is awesome, because we saw two people, but you're only fighting one at a time here, and you could respond there very quickly if the other one peeks you or shoots at you. So that's a really good angle to get some early damage off of, which is nice. That guy fortunately didn't see
I know.
you, which is
I was
really
like, what the
awesome.
hell is he doing it there?
So there, really quickly, like, ask yourself for that damage exchange, how did that look from the enemy point of view? Did you have a good angle to isolate an enemy? Absolutely. Were you difficult to hit? Absolutely not, because you got stuck on the box and didn't really move, right? So if we're talking about improving your place, whether the outcome is good or bad, you could have preserved way more armor here and a little bit of health and then been faster on the next fight, simply by being able to strafe from behind the window. You guys get awesome damage. You jump up here. Okay, so ideally, now we're gonna have the enemies in this direction, so be nice. Now at least it's 2v2, not a 1v1. So if you land here, you're gonna have to use your movement the moment they start shooting back at you to be hard to hit, since you don't have cover, or otherwise you would want to have some cover in this direction.
I think I overshoot
You
here.
fly over, yep.
Yeah.
but this is fine. So now you know you're like potentially dueling two people. Fortunately, they're not looking at you yet, and a lot of damage has been done to them, so this works out. Really good aim there, right? A worse player would not have killed the Octane. So you get away with a little bit of over risk there, which is completely fine. And now you don't know where the last enemy is. Now you know where he is, right? Okay. Can you approach this duel in a way that you're actually in control of the angle?
I mean, I think I jumped down here, but I think I probably could have stayed up there as well. I think at the time I was nervous about staying up because I didn't know if there's another team that could like shoot me from that exposed high ground.
That's fair. So I think I absolutely agree that you can stay up here. And then this is really good because while you were reloading, you didn't peek out here. So you didn't take unnecessary damage, which is awesome. That's what we're looking for. And now, okay, you didn't quite have to peek him while he was still shooting at the corner. But aside from that, you did mostly the stuff to be told, right? Which is really good. And I think you're quite right. If he stays on the balcony there, then you can actually just stay on the roof and shoot him for free. The benefit of that is if the damage exchange is not in your favor, you're fine and you're safe because you're the one that controls the angle. Okay, so we have an armor swap here. We're going to get healthy again, which is fine. And then completely beamed again and no light cover usage whatsoever again, right?
Yeah.
So like, when are you going to uncover the angle on the enemy? It's right here. And like, could beam him for free. And then when you're reloading, just use this corner. But okay, that's fine. And then he's going inside and like, fortunately he repeaks immediately and walks in for no reason. Because that's what happens when you're stuck between two enemies. But I definitely think there's a lot of moments in this fight where you could have kept the enemies on one direction and then peeked from a corner and been significantly safer. And I also think you beamed people, pushed with your team as well. You didn't do anything silly. You armor swapped, and that's all really good stuff. And it worked out.
Yeah.
So I think that this way you can have a valuable learning experience, whether you're beaming people in pubs, because I'm not ever asking you to slow down. I'm asking you to get more value out of your health and set up the next duel in your favor.
Okay.
That's it. And all of the good stuff that you're doing, I hope that you just keep doing.
Right. Yeah. No, this is super insightful because I knew it was something to do with my positioning and my decision making. I just didn't know. I couldn't articulate what it was, you know. And I feel like you really
very happy to hear that.
Yeah, like you were able to point that out. Because I was like, okay, why am I taking so much damage?
Yeah. Definitely look out for once or twice a week. Look at one of your fights and see if you still have any of these bad habits. Like, am I reloading out in the open when I could have easily been behind cover? Am I like not responding to damage that I could be responding to? Am I resetting my health, like healing it early enough? How does it look from the enemy perspective if I die? Like, was I being super predictable or did I actually peek it kind of intelligently? Right? And hopefully this, all of this together, I think that covers pretty much everything, the most important stuff we've talked about. Yeah, I hope all of that together sets you up to get value out of your time.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much. It's been a huge help. I think, I don't know, I kind of do want to try like push for master at least this season. But I definitely, I don't know, like talking to you makes me want to like play more Apex to see like if I can tangibly just, you know, practice everything that you covered and things like that. Dude, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm excited.